human being and a phenomenal leverager of the power of Microsoft to make the world a better place. Before I do, I just want to take one more second to thank our phenomenal sponsors who have been such an integral part of making this happen. Our core sponsors, Kentuckiana Works and Louisville Forward, the Future of Work Initiative, and Microsoft itself. And then also our other sponsors, particularly Breakpoint Technology, Adecco, Flyover Future, Livefire, JP Morgan Chase, GLI's Tech First Initiative, Talk, and all the other people who really helped to make this happen. So Rocket Women and Tandem Training. So without further ado, I want to get popping with Raamel. Raamel, you have been involved with the Future of Work Initiative and with initiatives all over the country to really leverage the power of Microsoft as a corporate citizen to be focused on creating a more diverse and innovative ecosystem. Can you just talk a little bit about your role and we'll go from there?
Ben, absolutely. And let me also just add that I am so thrilled to be here. Microsoft is thrilled to be here today. Thank you for all the great work that the team here in Louisville has been driving. The Future of Work initiative, I think, is a shining star, really kind of in the heart of America around the work that's happening to skill. And so I just want to say thank you to you and the team, Alicia and Mayor Fisher and the Future of Work Initiative and kind of everyone that's come here to get together today to really to bring this event together. So thank you again. You know, Ben, to your question, so what do I do at Microsoft? You know, I think I could say pretty easily, it feels like some days I have the best job in the world. And then, you know, the next day I might end up talking to an astronaut and then they will prove that sometimes maybe I don't, but there's a slight caveat to it. We have the opportunity every day to make an impact. And, you know, when I think about my role at Microsoft as the Central U.S. Director for Corporate Citizenship and Market Development, what I think about is our mission every day. I think about our mission every day. And our mission of Microsoft, and you've probably heard it from Gretchen and others, is to empower individuals and organizations on the planet to achieve more. I mean, that's a pretty large mission. That's a thing. That's a thing. Ambition. Every individual, every organization. And so in my role, I have an opportunity to work with organizations, nonprofits, and government organizations. I do have an opportunity to work with NASA on some of the work that we're doing there in the community.
And Stedman. I want to note you did bring Stedman to Louisville.
We had an opportunity to bring Stedman Grant with SGA and so many others to drive this conversations, to drive impact. And I have great team members as well. You heard from Gretchen and Waleed and Lena Fang and so many others that we get a chance to work with. But every day we wake up thinking about what type of partnerships we can create to make an impact to land that mission. That's what I do at the end of the day, creating these public-private partnerships to do amazing things.
So tell me what gets you fired up about the opportunities of this new data economy and AI?
You know, there are a number of things here. One, I think that we're when we think about the opportunity, we have to think about kind of what the future really looks like. I know this is the Future of Work Initiative, but the reality of it is that most of the jobs 10 years from now, we can't even imagine what they will be, right? We've all heard the statistics. I think Alan Berube with Brookings through this the other day in his forum when he was talking about the future of work, what type of skills are going to be needed, what type of jobs that will exist that don't exist today, the type of jobs that are going away, how we're transitioning. And so when I think about this, the thing that excites me is that we have this amazing technology that is now coming to bear that's going to make an impact, that can make an impact in each of our lives. If we think about machine learning and how that can impact healthcare and research, right? So we've all kind of been through this over the last year or more, right? the ability to leverage AI for if we're thinking about education, so that we can truly have personalized education, personalized customer experiences. If you're in the retail space, if we're thinking about even connecting, using some of the AI capabilities and AR, augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality, all of these things are actually converging to create a world that we can engage and embrace in new ways that we can't even think about. You know, if I think about technologies like blockchain, right, and the world that's going to be changed by that fundamental technology, not just in terms of currencies, but also in terms of smart contracts and how industries will be transformed, whether it's in the medical profession or legal profession or real estate. There's so many. We're at this point where there are so many industries that are ripe for disruption, and we're right at the edge of seeing that. And so, what excites me is the ability to jump in, figure out how to be on the leading edge of that, help others prepare for this change, because it will be disruptive, and see what comes. Like that's
you know, so you just threw out a lot of stuff, and I was talking to our local director of workforce development, Michael Gritton, who is a proud graduate of our local school system. I know you met him the last time you were here, PRP.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said probably gave him an ulcer, like on the spot, because it is his job to help prepare our workforce for those technologies that you talked about. And, you know, you're talking about blockchain, you're talking about AR, you're talking about, you know, when you're thinking about cities like Louisville or Cincinnati or Chicago, you know, how do you think about what kind of investments are going to be needed so that those communities are able to, you know, be a part of that emerging economy?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that we take into consideration, we look at kind of what exists in market now, right? And we did a significant amount of work with Brookings around manufacturing and the work that they've done in their Metro Studies program. And you know, when we look at a Houston, for instance, or Cincinnati, we know that there are specific industries that are local to those markets, if you will. Houston is known for this as being the city for oil and gas. The mayor there, actually, Mayor Turner, you know, he said, you know, we're known for oil and gas, but we're really a data center. We're really a data city. If you think about this work, how do we drive this? Because if energy is transitioning, how do we drive this? How does Houston leverage all of these interesting things to do something? And when we think about Cincinnati and the work that's happening in the retail space there, and even in health, it's ripe for disruption. So we think about that. And then, you know, coming back to Louisville, quite frankly, the reason why we're thinking about this is because we know that there's going to be an impact in manufacturing and supply chain, that we know that AI and ML and all of these other, you know, technologies that we talked about a few moments ago are changing. The upside for all of these cities is that there are strong leaders in place that recognize what the future can be. Mayor Fisher, I think in Louisville, I think he's recognized what the future can be. The importance in this movement, or moment rather, to continue pushing forward with digital equity for all communities in the city. And we were having this conversation with Mayor Fisher 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This is how we started our engagement with Louisville. It was through this conversation of equity and technology and Tequity. We've been talking about Tequity here.
Yeah.
But that's really where it comes from. And so that's a key ingredient, knowing that there are clusters of industries that exist in various cities and regions, knowing that you have leadership that recognizes that, and then how do you merge kind of public-private momentum to support the city directionally and every community directionally, whether it's working with Humana and working with Microsoft and working with GE and working with all the other great companies that are there in Story, Louisville, and the fantastic work that Natalia is doing there. So that's really what it's about. And so I know it's a long answer to a short question, Ben, but you know, let me just say that Louisville is so well positioned right now.
Well, you know, I think you said a couple of things that I really want to highlight. One is this idea of Tequity, right, where the population of the tech workforce reflects the population of the community as a whole, which enables those voices that have traditionally been marginalized particularly in the development of tech and benefiting from tech, to really come to the surface because they have the skills. But what, Alicia McLean, who has really become the face of Tequity in our community and is becoming a face of Tequity across the country, she says that it's not really about the skills. It is as much about the sense of belonging that we bring to communities who have not felt like they belong in the tech space.
Yeah, you're spot on here, right? And so, oftentimes if you hear this term diversity and inclusion, right, for some it triggers kind of a certain emotion or a thought. Does this mean purely an HR standpoint? But when you talk about this notion of equity, and you talk about this notion of inclusion, and we think about the future, we're leveraging today and yesterday to think really about the future. What would that future look like if only 1% of the population or 2% or 3% of the population is basically controlling, the apps that you use, the smart home device?
That's what it is right now, right? I mean, it is. That's who is controlling that innovation. It's why we've got Slack, and we still don't have a reasonable platform for trading shifts if you're a food service worker.
If you're in a food service, you don't. So what do you need? You need people with different backgrounds. You need folks, like I always say, you need folks with every academic background and grade and GPA within those academics. You need people from different geographies, right? You need people from different cultures, because when you are if you design bad code in, right, you're going to have bad code out or bad results out. Diversity in development is critical. Diversity in AI is going to be critical. Making sure that everyone has access, and that we basically, what we're doing, and I think the beautiful thing about this kind of the alliance that we have, that we started with Louisville just about 2 years ago, is that it supports this notion of the democratization of technology, right? The future of work is also about the democratization of technology. If you're engaged, if you're trained, if you're a student in K-12 right now, if you're a parent and you have a student that wants to be an accountant, that's cool. But I would also encourage you to have them explore data analytics. If you're a parent and you're thinking about what job can I do because I'm concerned, I would say look at that role, that the fundamental technology that you may enjoy, that's supporting what you do. I think we could look at this from a very binary standpoint. We could look at it from a fear-based approach where all of this change is taking place and our minds are blown, or we can look at it and step and get ahead of it and move it forward and be part of the motion, be part of the momentum. And that's where the opportunity exists for us all. So whether you're a parent or whether you're someone, a veteran, or whether you are a student or a grad, or you're thinking about doing a startup or an intro, you're thinking about doing some type of intro entrepreneur effort, if you will, at your organization or company. It's an opportunity, I think, right now for us all to engage. And you're right, we can all be included. We should all be included in the opportunities that exist here.
So one of my favorite data scientists is a guy named Nate Kratzer, and he doesn't have a degree in data science. He has an undergraduate degree in philosophy and a graduate degree in economics. And he's really trying to think locally about how we shape, like, what is the best case scenario for how AI impacts our community and our world. And I just, like, in your head, like, what's the best case that happens?
I think that we have huge problems as a society right now, right? Globally, if we look across the planet, we know that we have huge social, political, economic issues that exist. I think that when we look at AI and any technology, we have an opportunity to address some of those challenges. So whether we think about human trafficking, and leveraging AI to predict human trafficking, or we look at opioid crisis, right? That currently exists in the U.S. and other places across the world. How do we leverage technology to gain insight so that we can have some predictive analysis on that? If we think about transportation and logistics, how do we secure our supply chains? How do we ensure that we drive efficiency within our transportation sector. When we look at the issues that the entire planet has been plagued with COVID-19, how do we predict this? How do we measure it? How do we track these type of pathogens or viruses that are emerging in a way that's efficient, that's faster, that's effective? I think in almost every room in your house, every street that you drive down, everywhere that we go, every office, every education, there could potentially be a place for technology to be included, or for those experiences to enhance the way in which technology is being developed, right? So it's both. We need to make sure that we're ethically developing the tools and strategies that will help us, and we also need to make sure that we're all educated so that we can do that, right? So and when I say educated, I don't mean just like your friend that you mentioned, not necessarily, going out and saying in order to be educated, I have to have a computer science degree. No, you can use Global Skills Initiative. That exists. You can go to LinkedIn, right? You can go to Microsoft Learn. There are so many other platforms that are out there you can use literally today that are either zero cost, where you can engage, reskill, upskill, retrain, and do something that's fundamentally interesting to you, and something that can help shape the direction of technology and the impact it's going to make. We make that decision, right? You, myself, folks that are on this call, we can all influence
if you feel like you belong. I mean, one of my favorite humans on the planet is this incredible artist named Shala Madhavi. And she's a designer, but now she is the VP of digital for this incredibly innovative company that does stuff all over Silicon Valley, based out of Kentucky, so KPD Designs. And I think she's totally self-taught in this, and I think that's we need that design thinking. We need that to have these tools. All right, so in our last minute here before we let people go, tell me, what words of wisdom would you have for industry leaders and education leaders right now looking into the future?
Yeah, so that's a huge question, right? I mean, I feel honored that you would even ask after 2 days of.
We've had some, no pressure. We've had some, the CTO of the U.S., people from Siemens, the president of Vodafone, Yeah.
All comes to this moment, man, and so I appreciate the question. No, I would say, if you're a leader in an organization, small, medium, large, if you're a startup, I think the opportunity exists to literally, do what we're our mission basically says, and that is, how do you empower your customers? How do you empower your communities? How do you empower the world, right, to do something greater? When I think about technology, I think about technology as a tool, a mechanism for us to do these great things. We've talked about, blockchain, we've talked about machine learning, we've talked about augmented reality and artificial intelligence and all these, but those are just words if you don't have a plan around it. Those are just words if you don't empower your employees to learn about it. Those are just words if you don't create a strategy. There's a great book. It's called Good to Great, right? We've a number of us have probably read it on this particular call, and there are a number of scenarios in terms of companies that were really good but couldn't make the switch to being great, or those companies that were at one time great but ended up now not actually, today, 20 years after that book was written, not even existing, right? And so here's the thing: what paradigm shift is occurring? How do you see your company fitting into that paradigm shift? Do you think that your business model needs to change, or do you think that you are going to change the paradigm that is underway, right? So the question that I would have if I was sitting on a board is, what are our strategic priorities? How are we aligning those strategic priorities? How is technology playing a fundamental role, not as a support role, but as an integrated part of the DNA of what our organization is about, for us to drive our business? We had Jackie Wright last year during her fireside chat with Mayor Fisher. I think the question was, what role does technology play? And I think she said during that time, and I've heard multiple individuals and thought leaders across the planet say this, and that is every company today is a technology company.
Yeah.
Every company today is a technology company. If you were delivering fast food 5 years ago, to whether or not you're delivering fast, you're now a technology company in some form or fashion, right? If you were a taxi driver now, 10 years ago, every car service now basically is a technology company. Every company is a technology company. My son was going to start a business at his school selling some cookies, and the first thing that he did, based on recommendations from his investors, his primary chief investor here, was that you're going to need to create, a pretty in-depth flow. What does it look like? Show me your business plan. How are you going to? Then he started thinking about a social media strategy, so that he can engage, right? And so this is a 7th grader, right? So in any case, as we think about it, every company is a technology company. Every consumer, every customer that you have is in some form or fashion going to interact.
Everyone
and so be prepared for it.
All right, I like it. Raamel, such a pleasure to be with you. And to those of you who have been joining us on and off, we had 1,100 people sign up for this. That's a pretty remarkable thing especially when you consider the fatigue that people have with these kinds of conferences. So in this experience, so I really appreciate everyone who has joined us. Thank you, Raamel. You have been such a stalwart and wonderful partner for us from the very beginning. I look forward to the point when we can have you back here in person. But until then, we'll take your virtual presence.
I am looking forward to coming back. I think the entire Microsoft team is looking forward to coming back. We were talking about Derby yesterday on a call. So, and some specific type of tours apparently that can take place in Louisville. You guys can probably school us on that a little bit. But we're looking forward to coming back. I look forward to seeing you and the entire team in person again soon. And again, Ben and the entire team in Louisville, Eric and Grace Summerall and everyone that's been a leader here. I just want to, on behalf of Microsoft, say thank you for your leadership, your engagement, your commitment, and your partnership. And for all of those that have joined over the last day and a half or 2 days here now, thank you so much for joining and participating in so many of the conversations. Really do appreciate it. And 1,100 first go around, 8 weeks from ideation to implementation. That's
go fast
and
break things.
That's the way to do it. All right. Thanks again, Ben.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.